Hello, 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 everyone. Happy Wednesday. We're going to give it just a minute. We have a good amount of signups. Give people time to get in and transition. Um, if you are the kind of person that likes to take notes, like me, then you'll probably have like a notepad around. It's also good to have something around if you have questions, just in case Patty is in the middle of explaining something and maybe it's not like a good time to stop her. Write that question down so you can ask it. Or you could type it in too. We keep track of those. That's another way. But all those little tidbits, and if you have not taken class with Patty before, there will be all these little ahas that for me, I like to jot down because I like to come back to them. So, and I write. So I'm saying notepad, but you can easily use your computer to do that too. And then I see some familiar names, and then I see some not familiar names, and that's exciting. So welcome, all you not familiar names. And something that we do before a lot of our events is just give a roll call in the chat box where you're joining us from. It's always exciting to see where everybody is located. Last week there was people from all over the East Coast, which was pretty exciting. Hello, Miss Vivian. We actually have two Vivians on tonight. San Jose, welcome,
Hey,
welcome.
Vivian.
Billy, hello. See, there we go. We're all spread out. We're all spread out. I am in Menlo Park as well. Fantastic. Wonderful. And so we're going to get started, but I just wanted to open up with reminding everyone to make sure that they're comfortable, make sure that you maybe have some water or tea around, and really shake off the day. I don't know about everyone else, but I've had a doozy of a week, and I definitely could use a moment for a nice big deep breath. So I'm going to encourage you all just to join me. Put your feet flat on the ground, spread your toes out, really feel the ground underneath you, feel your sit bones, feel the balance of your body. Put your arms off to the side, take a nice big deep breath in, stretch it up, look to the ceiling, push it out, and exhale out. Let's do one more, just for good measure. Breath in, reach up, look up to the ceiling, press it out as you exhale. Beautiful, and shake it out. Shake it all out. Let it go. All right. Welcome, everyone. My name is Mel, and I am the wearer of many hats for Banyan, and we'll just keep it at that. So we are Banyan Tree Women's Collective, a 501c3 based out of the San Francisco Bay Peninsula, and I am, once again, in my office in Menlo Park, and I welcome you. So we believe that having access to different wellness modalities, having different wellness experiences, and being able to make different wellness choices that are personal for you should be a human right. There is something that everyone will connect with to put in their metaphorical wellness tool belt that hopefully when you need it, you'll pull it out and use it immediately. And hopefully we're going to help you add more tools to your tool belt. So we've had Patty with us quite a few times in different ways, whether it be like taking care of the skin, which by the way starts from the inside, or right now she has her herbalist hat on, and she's going to take us through a really important class right now, which is really supporting managing your chronic stress. And we welcome questions. There will be time for questions after. Once again, you can put questions in the chat box. We will make sure to get to them, and there is no silly question. I bet someone else is actually thinking the same thing too. So please ask away. And without any further ado, we're going to pass this on to Patty. We're going to get started.
All right. Thank you so much, Mel.
You're
And
welcome.
And for those of you who don't have your video on, I really love seeing your beautiful faces. So if you are comfortable, I would encourage you to turn on your video. It would just be nice to see you out there. And so we can make this more of an interactive experience. So today we are going to talk about herbs for chronic stress. And this is something that is, thank you. Hi, Vivian. This is something that is a topic that is near and dear to my heart. And this is something that chronic stress is something I've been suffering from for most of my life, right? And it's something that is easily a part of our lives, right? Without us even realizing, sometimes until it's too late. And that is when we reach burnout. So as a clinical herbalist and holistic beauty coach, I'm just going to do introductions in a moment. I like to focus on 4 main pillars for optimal health and beauty. And you will see that managing stress is a crucial part of optimal health and beauty, along with a well-balanced diet, getting good sleep, and regular exercise. So today we're going to cover the physiology of stress, support for chronic stress. We're going to do a product demo. So now would be a good time to get some warm water or hot water ready, so that by the time we do our herbal foot soak together, you will have some water nearby. And then we're going to wrap things up with some Q&A. So my name is Patty Liu. I am based in Oakland and I live in Santa Cruz now. I'm a certified clinical herbalist, holistic beauty coach. I'm also a skincare formulator. So I offer a variety of products and services that help women look and feel their best, right? So I really focus on holistic health and beauty, how you can optimize your health and beauty from the inside out. And I create skincare products for my brand that is Free Flow Botanicals. It's a conscious beauty brand. And really the reason I started this business was a result of being chronically stressed out, not knowing how to really tune into my body's needs, right? My body's inner rhythm. So these products and tools that I offer are really to help one carve and cultivate a ritual that helps you tap into your body and your inner rhythms. So you can learn more about Free Flow Botanicals at the website below. So what's your relationship with stress? I don't think anyone is immune to stress, but how many of you feel stressed out pretty much most of the time? And you can type in the chat box or just raise your hand. I'm definitely going to raise both hands, right? Like stress is a everyday part of our life. I see 24/7 all the time. Yes, yes, yes. And so we're going to explore our relationship with stress and then learn about herbs and diet and lifestyle practices that can help support us, right? Not to get rid of stress, because stress in itself, I think, has a bad reputation, right? We think stress is bad. Stress is actually very good in certain circumstances, which I will go further deeper into in a bit. So I'd like to start off with the physiology of stress, because I think it's really important to understand the difference between acute and chronic stress. So quickly, here are some facts. I always like to start with facts. So the APA, the Stress in America survey a couple years ago reported that 3/4 of adults report experiencing moderate to high levels of stress. And this has huge impact on productivity in the workplace, in the personal life, health, for so many reasons, right? So the rates of stress are definitely increasing, along with feelings of loneliness or isolation, especially as we are still in the middle of a pandemic. Okay, so a little bit about the actual physiology of stress. So stress is really connected to how our nervous system and how our endocrine system interact. So the nervous system here, I want to point out, is comprised of two main parts: the central nervous system, which is the brain, and then you have the peripheral nervous system. And the nerves are located all throughout your body, right? They govern many activities: motor movement, sensory receptors, and they communicate messages between your central nervous system, notably your brain, and the rest of the body. So the peripheral nervous system is controlled by an endocrine gland called the hypothalamus. And the endocrine system is a huge network of glands that control your hormones and hormonal activity. So the hypothalamus, let's consider that to be your brain's command center, right? It sits in your brain. It's the command center of your brain. And the peripheral nervous system is then further divided into two types. So you have somatic and autonomic nervous system. So today we are going to focus on the autonomic portion. So there are different types of activities or states of the autonomic nervous system. We have parasympathetic, which is rest/repair/restore. This is most evident when you are sleeping, when you're digesting food, when you're meditating, when you're doing things that really rejuvenate and replenish you, right? And there are many metabolic and physiological activities that go on in your body that help support this rest and repair and digest type of state. Then you've got the sympathetic nervous system, which many of us experience, unfortunately, on a daily basis. And this is known as fight, flight, or freeze, right? And this is signified by the release of cortisol, which is also known as the stress hormone. So cortisol in itself is not bad. It is essential to our survival, right? We need cortisol to be able to govern a lot of processes in our body. Cortisol, when it is released by our endocrine system, helps to increase focus. It helps to promote speed, strength, reaction time, and stamina, right? So this happens when we are under immediate threat or danger, right? We're driving on the highway and suddenly a car just like swerves in front of us, right? Our sympathetic state gets activated and we get a rush of adrenaline and cortisol to help us, slam on the brakes to avoid a collision. So this also was very helpful for our ancestors, right? Who would flee or fight a predator. And our ancestors, though, were able to rest and recover, right, from this release of cortisol. And also the act of running and fleeing would also be able to eliminate a lot of these hormones that are constantly circulating in our body. So what is the problem then? The problem is that because of modern day stressors, and these modern day stressors are not necessarily being, chased by a bear or a tiger, but they could be daily stressors such as deadlines, work obligations, financial issues, relationship issues, pressures from, family or children. These daily stressors always add up. And so when we go back to our ancestors and look at how they regulate their nervous system, I mentioned before, after the perceived threat has passed, the parasympathetic nervous system acts as a brake. It alleviates the stress response for them, and rest and digest is promoted, right? And then from a physiological perspective, adrenaline and cortisol levels fall as your heart rate and blood pressure return to baseline levels. But like I said, when we have constant daily stressors in our lives, our body actually remains in a fight or flight state chronically. And this is what is known as chronic stress. And many people who undergo chronic stress seem to think that they're experiencing adrenal fatigue. So I just want to make a really important distinction that I'm like feeling like you're in a state of chronic stress does not necessarily mean your adrenal glands are fatigued. That is a medical myth. True adrenal fatigue occurs when your adrenal glands no longer are able to regulate or produce healthy cortisol levels, right? So that would be Addison's disease, right? Where it's like a severe medical condition. So we're not talking about adrenal fatigue, we're talking about chronic stress. So how is that flight or fight response regulated? Let's dive in. So who's in control? So we have a network of endocrine glands here, starting with the hypothalamus, which, if you recall, is the brain's command center. And then that signals danger, right, or stress to the pituitary gland, which is this tiny pea-shaped gland that's located at the base of your brain. The pituitary gland will send out neurotransmitters and hormones to activate the release of cortisol from the adrenal cortex. And so cortisol is released from the adrenal cortex, right? And when cortisol levels are chronically elevated or chronically depleted, that can lead to fatigue, right? So it's all about keeping cortisol levels in balance. And one really important thing I want to note here is that there is a very intricate connection between activities of the thyroid gland and your sex organs, right? So if you are constantly in this day and age under a state of chronic stress, that means that from a physiological perspective, you're under fight or flight. And if you're under fight or flight, what pathway is going to take the precedence? Like what pathway is your body going to prefer over the others? It's going to prefer survival, right? So survival through the HPA axis. And that is why when you are under a state of chronic stress, your body may not be secreting or regulating thyroid hormone activity as well. It may not be regulating the release of sex hormones like estrogen or testosterone or progesterone. So these pathways actually get impaired when you are constantly under a state of fight or flight or chronic stress. So I hope this makes sense, and we're going to go and visit this pathway later on. Okay, so chronic stress. What complications? There are so many, so many that this is a non-exhaustive list, but inflammation goes up, right? So again, this is feeling a state of chronic stress where these daily stressors continue to pile up and you're not able to balance that or mitigate these chronic stressors. So what happens over time, this does not happen overnight, but over time, inflammation starts building up. Your immune function decreases, or you might have overactive immune function, which someone asked, does chronic stress cause fibromyalgia? Yes, absolutely. Chronic stress is an underlying root cause of many illnesses and disease. Like that is a fact. It can lead to insomnia, cognitive issues. Anxiety or depression is a huge result of dealing with chronic stress. And then it impairs different body systems, right? Your cardiovascular system, your digestive system, your reproductive system, as we saw in the HPA axis, and the channels that affect the thyroid and also the gonads, or the sex organs. Diabetes, right? Because your blood sugar is no longer properly balanced, right? So you could be experiencing hyper or hypoglycemia, which can often lead to obesity. And then also, last but not least, a variety of skin disorders can result from chronic stress. Anything from eczema, rosacea, to acne. So let me just get a sip of my tea. So let's talk about how you can support your body with for chronic stress. Okay, so who has never heard of adaptogens? Will you raise your hand? Okay, I see one person. Good, good. Okay, so for most of you, this will be a review or refresher. So adaptogens are a class of herbs that help the body adapt to stress. The term so what's really interesting, and this is what gets me so amped up as a herbalist, is that the term adaptogens was not even coined over a century ago, right? It was coined in the 1940s by a Soviet researcher who was studying the effects of certain herbs on athletic performance. And this researcher, Lazarev, I believe, looked at a variety of herbs and looked at how effective they were, not only for athletic performance, right, the Olympics, but also worker productivity. And so he coined this term adaptogens. But what's interesting, for me at least, is that the herbs that he studied have been used for centuries in traditional practices of medicine, traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurveda, most notably. So the herbs that we're going to cover today are really herbs that have been prominently used by traditional systems of medicine for centuries. So they are a category of herbs. They don't have one specific function. They have multiple functions, right? They're relatively not safe and non-toxic. They have a wide range of benefits, most notably a modulating effect. So what does that mean? It means that if your blood sugar levels are very high, certain herbs can help bring your blood sugar levels down, or it can help to activate pathways that increase blood sugar levels in the bloodstream, right? So, maybe causing or activating the release of sugar into the bloodstream from the breakdown of muscle, right? This is a process we call gluconeogenesis. But most of these adaptogens affect the stress response of the HPA axis in the nervous and endocrine system. So that pathway that we saw and explored, this is where most adaptogens work on. Okay. Thank you, Melissa. A nice bit of history for you history buffs. So yes, adaptogens are generally helpful for stress, reduced fatigue, and sluggishness, right? So how many of you have felt an extreme amount of fatigue recently? Like I definitely have. I have reached like a major point of burnout in my life, right? Even as a health and wellness practitioner, I let myself get to that point. And that is a point where you want to avoid, right? Because that can impair your sleep, the quality of your sleep, that can impair your sex drive, that can impair your appetite. And so we want to make sure that we are addressing our state, our physiological, mental, emotional state when we are experiencing fatigue. There's also a result of stress that includes stress and jitters, right? So how many of you have felt kind of jittery, right? So oftentimes we might feel jitters before we feel fatigued, and that could be our body trying to ramp up, right, in response to trying to normalize our blood sugar levels, our energy levels, to trying to bring things into homeostasis. So adaptogens are quite useful for addressing a lot of health issues, health imbalances, can help to support fertility, reproductive function, vitality, mood, as well as immunity. And they can be categorized by their ability to calm, balance, invigorate, protect, and improve, right? So most notably, some adaptogens, as I mentioned, have a modulating effect. So they can calm or they can invigorate depending on what it is your body needs. Okay, So I, it would be easy for me to just give you like a super long list of herbs, right? That can support you. But I think in the interest of this class, and because we are limited to an hour long, as opposed to like I could probably talk about herbs for chronic stress for easily 6 hours, right? And really get into it. But I thought it'd be helpful just to introduce you to some of the herbs and their categories based on the typical or common type of effect they have on the body. So we have, first of all, adaptogens that are energizing, right? These are the ginsengs. There's Asian ginseng, also known as Panax ginseng or Korean red ginseng, very energizing. There's American ginseng that is a little bit more gentle than the Panax ginseng, but still can boost chi or life force energy. And then we've got Eleuthero, which is also known as Siberian ginseng. And funny enough, ginsengs are part of the Panax family and grew in such popularity around the 80s that Eleuthero, because it's not in the Panax ginseng or Siberian ginseng is not technically in the Panax family, it was no longer allowed to be called Siberian ginseng because it's not part of the Panax family. So you will see this more referred to as Eleuthero. Eleuthero is a wonderful energizing adaptogen when someone is constantly has their eyes on the clock, right? Like if you are the type of person that tries to put 20 million things on your to-do list and you feel like you're in a constant race against time. Can anyone relate to that? Right? Like, you're a busy, homemaker, or, you're a busy entrepreneur, or you're a manager at work, or you've got a lot of responsibilities. You want to try to get as much done as possible, right? And that can actually lead to burnout. So Eleuthero is a really nice herb to help give you some energy and also help you realize that there really is no race against time, right? It's just a race. Racing against time is ultimately racing against your health. So rhodiola is a wonderful herb. This is a relatively new adaptogen, and it is really nice for balancing blood sugar levels and also for increasing energy output in the form of ATP. So energizing adaptogens could, theoretically be helpful for someone who's experiencing fatigue, right? So let's say you're feeling burnt out and you're feeling fatigued. This could potentially be a category of herbs that would support you. But I'm going to give a caveat to that in just a moment, right? So there are many caveats to using adaptogens. And the reason I say that is because adaptogens have gained so much popularity in the last few decades. This has led to a lot of misuse of adaptogens, right? Like, oh, I heard ashwagandha is really good for stress and it's helping, really good for helping me sleep. So I'm just going to take, tons of supplements of ashwagandha, right? And this can be dangerous. This can actually do more harm than good. And I'm going to get to that in the next slide. So before we get there, the second category of adaptogens are more balancing, right? So these adaptogens tend to have more amphoteric qualities, meaning they can detect where you need more help in one area, right? So you need more blood sugar regulation, you need more cortisol production or less cortisol production. They can actively work on the HPA axis, right? Different parts of the HPA axis or the HPA axis altogether. Schisandra berry is very prominent in traditional Chinese medicine, as is reishi. So Schisandra berry also, in addition to being a wonderful adaptogen, supports the liver, right? It has a very, one of the most noticeable tastes is bitter, although Schisandra berry in Chinese medicine has 5 flavors. So many times when you're working with herbs, that the taste or flavor of the herb can help you understand what support it offers to your body. And then same with reishi. Reishi is a wonderful medicinal mushroom, really helpful for the immune system. And then we've got calming adaptogens, right? So maybe you are feeling fatigued, but you have like jitters, right? You just can't sleep at night. I see someone who may be having restless leg syndrome, you may be having jitters, right? So while I was nearly approaching burnout, I would try to take naps in the afternoon. And it took me a while to actually relax, right? Because I was so jittery. So in this case, energizing adaptogens may actually be harmful, right? Because you don't want to energize yourself when you're ready, like your body is really energized, right? Not in the appropriate way. So in this case, calming adaptogens may be helpful. So Tulsi or holy basil, gotu kola are more gentle calming adaptogens. And then I want to move on to the next category called nervines. So nervines are a category, a class of herbs that work on the nervous system to restore nervous system health. And the two broad categories of nervines are calming and sedative. So calming nervines tend to be more tonic in nature. They can be very nutritive, including milky oat seed and lemon balm. I see Melissa loves Tulsi and lemon balm. I actually have a cup of tea that's Tulsi and lemon balm and rose right here, one of my favorites. So calming nervines can be really well paired with adaptogens, right? So they can work in concert with each other. They can work in a synergistic fashion, helping to balance adaptogens, right? So nervines can be wonderful to include with adaptogens. And then you have your more potent nervines, such as sedative nervines that really can help with sleep support, can actually make you a little bit drowsy. But often, your nervous system is so shot that you might need something a little bit that packs a punch, right? And ultimately what your body is craving is sleep. And if you're unable to fall asleep easily or stay asleep, you might opt for a sedative nervine. Kava tea, wonderful. Okay, so here is just a kind of like an indication of herbs that will have specific affinities to endocrine glands that are part of the HPA axis and beyond. And you can see here ashwagandha, even though it really benefits the HPA axis, most of these adaptogens do, as well as nervines, they have specific affinities, right? So if you are trying to target like a health concern or imbalance downstream of the hypothalamus, then herbs like ashwagandha or eleuthero or Siberian ginseng would be very helpful. And then ashwagandha, I'm just going to use that as an example, also has an affinity for the thyroid, right? Especially if you have an underactive thyroid or hypothyroidism. So here is just a pretty basic overview of how these herbs are acting on different parts as well as the entire nervous endocrine system that we see depicted here. Okay, so here are the caveats, because herbalism is wonderful, but there's some important considerations that I want to point out. First, holistic versus allopathic herbalism. So just like conventional medicine, right, going to get drugs, right, and I have nothing against conventional medicine, they can be used to treat specific issues, specific health conditions. And that we often hear, let's say lavender is good for X, Y, and Z, or ashwagandha is good for X, Y, and Z. And that is a very allopathic way of thinking, right? It's like, give me something that's good for this, and I will nip it in the bud. And as a holistic practitioner, I like to take a holistic approach to herbalism, which I recommend all of you doing if you're interested in deepening your herbal journey. And that is taking a holistic approach because you are considering not only how your body reacts to herbs, but how that herb has a specific set of energetics and properties that can influence your body's response to that herb. I hope that makes sense. So in other words, getting to know the herb like very well, understanding, is it a warming herb? Is it a cooling herb? Do I tend to run hot, right? Do I tend to run cold? Right? You wouldn't want to aggravate your body's constitution or your body's unique blueprint with herbs that are similar, right? You want to use herbs that help bring balance. So if you are a very warm-bodied person, you may want to exercise extra caution with using adaptogens, because generally speaking, adaptogens want to consider balancing these adaptogens with more cooling herbs, whether they're adaptogens or nervines or other herbs. And then, as you saw in the previous diagram, adaptogens can act on different systems, right? They can act on the thyroid, they can act on the hypothalamus, they can act on the digestive system. So working with plants as a whole is really the foundation of holistic herbalism, and understanding the plant's unique properties and how they affect your unique constitution or your body's blueprint. So before working with herbs, please do your research, because many plants can be contraindicated depending on if you have an existing health condition, if you're on medications. A lot of herbs will interfere with drug metabolism in the liver, right, by interfering with cytochrome P enzymes in the liver, and that can that could influence how the medication you're on is actually being effective. And if it's interfering, that could actually lead to a lot of danger, right? So that's something we want to avoid. It's important to consider the dosage and how long you're using it for, because I hear over and over again, people read about, turmeric or ashwagandha, and they buy like pounds of it, right? And they take it long term, and they take it to combat the fatigue that they're feeling, right? Versus really looking at, why are you feeling fatigued? Is it because you are depriving of yourself of 8 to 9 hours of quality sleep? Is it because you're constantly reaching for coffee or strong caffeinated drinks to get by? So it's really important to understand short versus long-term use of adaptogens, as well as other herbs. And then, this is something I often tell clients that I work with, because you can take all the adaptogens and all the nervines in the world, but if you are still keeping your old habits, right, that likely cause that imbalance that you're taking these herbs for, it's not going to matter, right? It's really not going to matter, because herbs will work on a very subtle level. They work to help you bring balance to your body, but you need to keep that balance sustained through eating healthy whole foods, getting adequate quality sleep, and engaging in regular exercise. So this is really the foundation of holistic herbalism. Okay, so really quickly, I want to highlight lavender, because lavender is one of my favorite herbs, and it's so easily accessible. So lavender has a variety of herbal actions, right? It can help to bring down inflammation, both on the skin as well as internally. It can help to reduce spasms, notably muscle cramps, as well as period cramps or menstrual cramps. And it is also a wonderful nervine, like working directly on the nervous system. It has affinities for a variety of systems in our body: digestive, the muscle, nervous system, reproductive, and even the respiratory system. And some of the common medicinal uses, and I'm talking about traditional uses of lavender dating back to the Romans and Greeks, ancient Romans and Greeks, insomnia, stress, anxiety, headaches, nervous tension, and muscle spasms. So you can see that based on the herbal actions of lavender, it can help to alleviate a lot of health issues, right, and imbalances. Okay, so just want to do a quick time check. So here is just a really quick slide on some of the strategies that you can adopt for managing stress better, ranging from relaxation to aromatherapy, or even finding a support network, right? Whether it's in your local community or seeking the help of a therapist or counselor. Okay, so I'm gonna do a quick demo on an herbal foot soak because I was trying to think of an herbal remedy that's really easy and accessible, but highly effective, right? And how many of us would think to do a herbal foot soak on a regular basis, right? Not me. So we're gonna do that. And if you have your ingredients ready, please join me if you need to run to the kitchen. But I'm gonna do this demo and then we are going to wrap up this class. Okay. All right, is anyone going to be participating along with me or we're just watching? Okay, Vivian, great. Okay.
I'm going to do mine tonight.
That's okay. Okay, perfect. All right, so the reason I love herbal foot soaks, well, first of all, I love taking baths. So, but I realize, you know, we are in a severe drought in California, so I don't have the conscience to actually take baths right now. So I thought, okay, the next best thing is the herbal foot soak. And I have here a bucket of water. You can use a basin, and I have some hot water that I'm going to add to the cool water that's in my bucket. That's a nice warm temperature. And then you can use your favorite herbs. I've got a giant container of lavender here. So I think we tend to put so much stress, right, literally and metaphorically on our feet. And our feet can get really sore, right? I was at a 3-year-old.
Can you take your slide off so people can have a full screen?
Sure. Thank you for the reminder.
Let me.
That better? Okay.
Thank you.
So yeah, I was at a 3-year-old's birthday party last weekend, and I was running around helping to set up for the party. And afterwards, my feet were aching. My feet were killing me. So all I wanted was a herbal foot soak. So I'm gonna get that tonight. So you just take about a half a cup of herbs. So I'm gonna use lavender here. Take about a 1/4 cup of lavender. And then I also really like chamomile because like lavender, chamomile also has anti-spasmodic properties. So if you have, tension or muscle aches, especially around your feet, you can use both of these herbs, which work really nicely. And then another ingredient that I highly recommend is Epsom salt, right? This is just simple magnesium sulfate you can get at any drugstore, and you would want to add that to your herbal foot soak. Okay, I'm just going to pour that in. Swish it around, make sure that Epsom salt is nicely dissolved. And you're also welcome to add essential oils. And then for this reason, if you do decide to add essential oils or very volatile herbs like lavender, they have a lot of volatile oils that get released, so very aromatic herbs that you want to make sure that you cover your feet, right? So you're going to put your feet in here, let it soak, and then you're going to cover anything that's exposed with a towel so you can keep the steam in, you can keep the volatile oils in that really pamper your feet this way. So it's a super easy way to de-stress and unwind. You can do it while you're reading a book, watching TV, maybe even meditating. And you probably saw that I just dumped my herbs right in there. If you don't like to make a mess, you can put your herbs and your salts into like a muslin bag and then dump it into the water. So it's up to you. But I often like to have the herbs just in contact with my feet. So as I finish this class, I'm literally going to be soaking my feet, and I welcome those of you who just made this herbal foot soak with me to join me. That feels really good. I kind of want to take a nap now.
I'm kind of jealous right now. Still
You'll get there later now when you create your own.
So is foot soak better than a bath? Assuming there's no drought, is foot soak better than a bath?
It's just more convenient. I personally love taking baths because I have a lot of tension in my neck and shoulders, and obviously I can't get that part to soak. But you know, this is just a really nice way, you know, especially if you don't have a bathtub. So this is also pretty effective.
And what is the best time to do it?
Anytime really, but you know, I tend to like to do in the evening time when it's time for me to really rest and relax and unwind, because lavender and chamomile have very relaxing properties, right? And they're working on the muscle, right? They're working on the muscular level, right? So probably at night, but it's really up to you. And you don't have to use lavender or chamomile. You can use rosemary, you can use ginger. Ginger is a really nice option in the winter time when, you know, we tend to get cold hands and feet, right? Which result from inadequate circulation in the peripheral areas like our fingers and our toes. So ginger is a really nice circulatory stimulant to get blood flowing, right? So it's really lovely. So it's really up to you.
I'm just thinking maybe it might be good to, like, while I'm in meetings and have a foot soak.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I'm so relaxed.
Why not?
These meetings stressing me out.
I'm literally soaking my feet, and I could feel the tension in my feet unwinding, because I was on my feet for over 12 hours for a family's birthday party, you know, like a 3-year-old. So lots of toddlers and kids running around, and I finally feel like I get to relax my feet right now.
Would you grate the ginger or slice the ginger?
Oh, such a good question. Okay, so my recommendation for using ginger, and then Cassandra, hi Cassandra, I'm so happy you joined. Cassandra asked, would ginger be okay in a full bath? So with ginger, you would want to decoct the ginger or allow the ginger to simmer in a saucepan, right? So I would not recommend, you know, grating or slicing the ginger and throwing it directly into your foot soak. I think for a foot soak, it could be okay because the amount of water you're using is relatively small. But if you wanted to bathe with ginger, right? Let's say you're having severe cramps, right? Menstrual or muscular cramps, whatever. Ginger can be really helpful for alleviating cramps, right? So you would want to simmer the ginger, like get a good 1 or 2 inch piece of ginger, slice it up, smash it, simmer it for about 20 minutes in a quart-sized saucepan so that you have a concentrated ginger solution, right? That's hot. And then you add that to your bath water.
So it's like for making like ginger tea. You're just going to make the tea and then put it
in a giant batch of ginger tea, and then you add that to your bath water.
Perfect. Robin asked, and Robin also had a comment about the restless legs. And yes, Robin, it definitely stress does not help that. Do the herbs absorb from your feet to your whole body?
That's a really good question. So the herbal solution will help to alleviate like tension, but I'm not sure I understand your question. So are you saying that will you find relief from the herbs on your neck or your shoulders as opposed to just your feet?
Well, like you had just mentioned about the ginger for cramps, like, so if you soak your feet in that ginger solution, is that going to help the cramps or?
Oh, okay. So thank you for that question. So if you were to soak in a ginger bath, you would, for cramps, that would be in a bathtub, right? So you would want it to make contact with the area that you are getting cramps in.
Okay.
Yeah, if it could do that, that would be amazing. Can you tell us where we should purchase the adaptogens? Yes, so there are several reputable small scale farms that I like. Oh gosh, and it's gosh, okay, I am blanking. It's in Southern Oregon, and I am completely blanking on the name. It is, you know what, maybe, okay, Ashala is one. So Ashala Farm is wonderful. There's another one that I get my roses from, and I can't.
I'd like to represent somebody local that
Yeah.
we really love to support, and that is Steadfast Herbs in
Okay.
Pescadero.
Pescadero.
In Pescadero, Steadfast Herbs.
Wonderful.
And just to they actually do also a wellness CSA, and as the weather changes, we get a delivery of everything fresh from their farm. But you can go on, you can buy bulk, you can buy fresh bulk too if you want. And you can buy pre-made, you can visit the farm. It is a BIPOC owned and queer trans ran local farm, and it is absolutely beautiful, and the products are wonderful. If you're in the Bay Area, they ship anywhere, but I gotta represent somebody locally. So
Okay, thank you for that recommendation. And then the herb farm that I was referring to earlier is called Pacific Botanicals. They're located
yes,
in
they're
Southern
wonderful.
Oregon. I love them.
Mhm.
Okay, so why don't we just use the last few minutes? I'd like to close out, and then we can always take other questions. So I'm going to close out. And one thing I'd like for you to do, right? I think this will be very helpful, right? I'm sure many of us know if we're under chronic stress, right? I'm sure you know. If anyone doesn't, please let me know, and we can help you kind of assess that. But a really helpful self-assessment to understand if you are balancing your daily responsibilities with activities that replenish you and rejuvenate you. Here's what I'd like you to do on your own time. So you take out a piece of paper, right? And in two separate columns, I'd like for you to write down in one column the activities that replenish you, right? So this could be something that is relaxing, something that's grounding, nourishing, right? So allows you to slow down, right? So I literally have my feet in a bucket of warm herbal water right now. So I'm very much slowed down, and I feel very grounded. My feet feel very relaxed in this warm water solution with herbs and Epsom salts. So write down everything that replenishes you. And if exercise replenishes you, great. So some days when I'm feeling fatigued, running does not replenish. Running usually replenishes me, but when I'm feeling extra fatigued, I skip running, because running actually exacerbates the fatigue, because you don't have enough vital force. You don't have enough energy to sustain running. So maybe you can opt for stretching or walking or gentle yoga, right? Do not underestimate the power of walking. And then on the other column, what depletes your energy? So obligations, overworking, right? I had this really bad habit of working into the wee hours of the night. Now I stop at 9:30, which is actually quite early for me. Worrying, speeding up, right? So I have this personality where I definitely would identify as being overachiever. I like to get things done, right? I have a lot of fire in me, so I tend to move through my days very quickly, trying to get as much done as possible. And when I hit burnout 3 weeks ago, my heart was just palpitating like crazy, and I was starting to get panic attacks. And now when I find myself speeding up, I notice that my heart is signaling to me like, Patty, you need to slow down for your health and your sanity, right? So notice what activities are causing you to speed up, right? So if that list is out of balance, right, especially if the depleting activities tend to outweigh the replenishing activities, that is a sign. That is a sign that you probably need to switch some things around in your lifestyle choices. Okay. So please do that. I did it recently. It was so helpful. It was eye-opening because we probably are aware, but seeing it on paper is huge. Okay, so I want to be mindful of time. We have a few minutes left. I do want to share that I have a couple more classes for the rest of the year. I'm super excited about these. The first one is next month. It's Herbs for Immune Health, and we are going to make fire cider together, which is a classic herbal remedy for boosting immune function, right? So cold and flu season is upon us. So fire cider is a very simple, nutritious herbal remedy that we can all create together in the class. So you can register for that. And then the second one, holiday gifts from the heart, right? So we can either go to big box retail stores, or we can craft something that is more personal. And I will share a little bit about the history of the holidays and Christmas here in the Western world. And we will be creating bath salts. So this will be a continuation of the herbal foot soap, but these are bath salts that you can make in batch and then send them or share them with friends and family. So register at banyanwomen.org.
And Patty, I just needed a moment before you close out, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll go now then. Okay.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for showing up, and I hope that this got your brain thinking about balance and what it looks like for you, what it could look like for you, and I hope everybody soaks their feet tonight. I also want to remind everyone that we are a 501c3, and there are many ways that you can support us. You can share our social posts, you can share our emails, you can invite someone to come to class. Classes starting in October are going back to 100% free. So invite everybody you know. The other way that you can support us is through Amazon Smile, choosing us as your nonprofit. It's all you got to do is choose us. And then it's just pennies from different purchases, but those pennies really add up if enough of us do that. So that's a way to support us. And then showing up in class, taking time to learn, taking time to experience, and taking those tools and giving them to other people in your community and your family. So we're building sustainable, healthy practices, sustainable communities, and we are sharing our knowledge. Saturday, we are making ginger bugs, which you'll notice October's full of immunity and brain health, mental health. So we're making ginger bugs on Saturday with Megan. Think about digestion, think about, everything begins in the belly. So ginger bug is a great way to introduce that spice into your life on a regular basis. Of course, Patty will be here with Herbs for Immune Health Fire Cider. That is one thing everybody should know how to make. That is so important. And then we're going to have 2 talks with Chantal around brain health. And that is going to focus on stress response, on neurogenesis, and mental health conditions. And then the big one is October 18th. They're all big, but this one is important because you need to show October 18th for the information night with Itzel. She's a Reiki master. We are going to offer a level 1 certification for Reiki, but you have to show up October 18th to learn everything that's going to happen. And then she starts training the first Monday of November, and it's going to run all through November to the first Monday in December, and you will be attuned and you will be level 1 certified, and then we'll look to giving you level 2 in the new year. But it's important that you show for those. And that's all I got for you right now. Patty, close out.
That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Mel. So yeah, I will close out. Just wanted to share some complimentary resource for you. I have a variety of blog posts that address, burnout and pain relief remedies, and then guides to holistic practices that you can adopt based on season. So you can check that out on my website. You can check that out on Instagram. I have my Instagram handle. And then you can also sign up for my newsletter. So you can just take your phone right now and scan this QR code, and it'll take you directly to sign up for my newsletter. I also offer complimentary beauty coaching sessions if you have a particular concern or issue that you would like to talk about. So yeah, that is it. Thank you so much for attending. I really want to give a shout out to Mel, because what she and her team are doing for just the community, not only the local community, but making all these amazing classes and resources accessible all over the world. It's no small feat. So it is just so incredible, and I'm so honored to be a part of this mission, right? This movement to make classes around health, dance, energy, healing, nutrition just available, right? And I think if you can, tell your friends about the Banyan Tree Women's Collective, because they are just such an incredible resource. And I hope we can continue to share and align and integrate with this nonprofit. It's just so incredible.
Oh, you made me cry. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. Yes, everyone, please. And yeah, other things like Monday morning, we do pop Pilates with Joanne, and it is such a fun class and a great way to get your fitness in first thing in the morning, and you just feel fantastic. So look at the events. We don't send a lot of emails, but when we do,